James, and I'm here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting October the 2nd, 2017. This week I wanted to work with tarot because tarot's been showing up a lot in my private work with my personal clients. So I thought, you know, it's been a while since I actually did a tarot reading for the Oracle Outlook, so I'll do one this week. So it just happens to coincide with a new deck in my collection. So the latest tarot deck that I've acquired is the Smith-Waite Borderless Edition, and it is published by US Games. So that's the deck that I have chosen to assist me for this week's reading. It's a way to kind of break it in. So have the deck on hand. I'm going to take a moment to shuffle the cards. And as I'm shuffling the cards, I'm focusing on my intention, which is what do we need to know for the week ahead. That is my basic intention and question every week that I do these readings. So I'm feeling one more time will be fantastic. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. Now I'm fanning out the cards. And when I work with tarot, unlike Lenormand or Kipper, I tend to work with 3 cards. So I'm looking for 3 cards in the fan to get my attention. And I have the 3 cards selected. So I'm putting the remainder of the deck aside. And when I read the line, I usually read them from left to right. So the first card usually can represent a theme that's opening up the line for the week ahead, or it could actually be an actual situation or experience that we may have in the week. So here we have the 9 of Cups. So this is a great card to have. Okay, so the 9 of Cups is known in tarot as the wish card. That's its traditional meaning. So this card can represent something that we are hoping or wishing for is going to be granted. You know, this card is about wish fulfillment or a wish being granted. It could also mean that we are moving into a space where we have gained, because the number 9 for me represents gain or attainment, something of an emotional nature. Cups, because Cups rules the emotions, feelings, relationships. So there's an emotional gain or something attained at an emotional level this week. With that, it brings a sense of happiness, satisfaction, and again, playing on the fulfillment part of the wish, fulfillment. So there's something that has happened or is on its way happening this week that's going to allow us a greater sense of emotional happiness, satisfaction, fulfillment. The other thing with this card is that I'm looking at the image and there's a man sitting on a bench and there's a table behind him with 9 cups lined up on the table. Sometimes this imagery can represent like a celebration, so there may be something to even celebrate this week. So we attain something that is cause for celebration, right? So I'm seeing that, and in my mind, I'm seeing another depiction of this card. So sometimes this card can represent weathering a storm, coming out on the other side, because in the image that I'm seeing in my mind, there is a woman sitting on grass and she's at the same type of table. She has a cup in her hand and there are 8 cups lined up on the table still. And there's a rainbow in the sky. So she has been led to the table by the rainbow, and that usually represents weathering a storm because rainbows tend to show up after a storm, right? So that could be a literal storm and that could be metaphorical. So someone watching this video has weathered a storm, you've come out on the other side, and now that's cause for celebration, right? And that would be the table and the cups on the table. And with that, still keeping with the idea about weathering a storm and coming out on the other side, in that depiction, there are 8 cups on the table and 1 in the woman's hand. So that represents, you know, tapping into one's personal power or strength, because the 8 is a number for me that represents personal power, right? So as a result of having gone through that experience, you've have come out of it stronger than you were prior to having had that experience. You know, I'm hearing in my head, I'm hearing the Britney Spears song, and yes, I said Britney Spears song, Stronger, and in that it's about a woman who is stronger today than she was yesterday, right? And so I'm hearing that in my head. So for someone watching this video, you have gone through an experience, you've come out on the other side. And the interesting thing about the 9 in that regard, the 9 represents wisdom gained through experience. So you've come out wiser, but you've also come out stronger, right? And so you need to celebrate the wisdom that you have gained from the experience, because you wouldn't have gotten the wisdom through any other means than that experience, right? In bigger picture spiritual thinking, you know, every experience that we have is there to teach us something. We're supposed to be coming out of it wiser than we were prior to the experience, but everything is usually showing up in our lives to teach us something. You know, there's a gain in that in terms of knowledge and wisdom and enlightenment. So for this person, you may be celebrating what you've gained as a result of having that experience. So I'm seeing that with the 9 of Cups. So generally speaking, this is a card that can represent a wish being fulfilled. We're moving into a space where we're feeling emotionally happy, emotionally satisfied, emotionally fulfilled, right? And then there's that additional message that I talked about for either one person or for as many people watching this video as it might relate to, this idea about weathering a storm, coming out on the other side, and coming out of it stronger than you were, stronger and wiser. So that is the 9 of Cups. Moving to the next card, we have, oh, this is great. Okay, so here we have the Ace of Wands. And so I love this because the 9, like I said, represents something being gained or attained, and that sets the stage for the Ace. The Ace is a number 1, and so in numerology, the Ace or the 1 always represents the beginning stage of something, the starting off point of something new. So here we're moving into a new space. And I think as a result of this sense of emotional satisfaction, emotional fulfillment with the 9 of Cups, or that wish or that hope that's being fulfilled or granted, it sets the stage for a new phase in life. Ace of Wands always represents passion. It always represents, you know, a spark, you know, feeling enthusiastic about life, you know, wanting to embrace the next stage, phase, or chapter, right? So there's that. For someone in particular, when I pull the Ace of Wands, I always see this as writing. So if somebody's hope or wish has to do with writing, Ace of Wands bodes well, because I tend to see this card as a manuscript, right? And with that, it's about a manuscript or some writing project or some sort of even creative endeavor. If it's not writing, it may be a creative endeavor to some degree. And it's something that we may have put on hold, and now we're being called or led to come back to it, because my classic symbol for this in my head is usually I see the image of someone reaching on a shelf for a book, like a big bound book, and blowing the dust off of it. So if there is a project, and it could be a literal manuscript, so somebody could actually be writing something, because Wands as a suit for me is connected to Archangel Gabriel, and Archangel Gabriel is the messenger angel, rules communications, messages, creativity, something of that nature. So I'm seeing that kind of thing. So it could be something that's inspirational in material, the content of it is inspirational, or you have been inspired or re-inspired to come back to that. So I'm looking to see what else I need to say about that. So Ace of Wands, again, it's about a creative endeavor, you know, a creative project, some kind of new work, or returning to some prior work with a new sense of inspiration, motivation, enthusiasm. So I'm taking a step back to say, what else do I need to say about this? Oh, aside from that, this card can come up, like I talked about, passion for life. I always tend to see this when I think of the movie How Stella Got Her Groove Back. So for somebody, this card is like about getting your groove back, getting your mojo, that kind of thing. Somebody may even feel a sense of an energy boost, because sometimes I see this as a supercharged energy boost. So I'm looking to see what else do I need to say about this card. That's what's coming to me in the moment. So that's the Ace of Wands. So now moving to the last card for the week. Oh, this is amazing. This is a great week. Okay, so here for the last card we have the Sun. So now the Sun is a major arcana card. So major arcana cards for me when I read tarot carry more weight. So I love this card coming after the 9 of Cups, because they kind of mirror each other in the sense of meaning. The Sun card is all about happiness, satisfaction, and fulfillment. So we have it on bookends of the reading this week with the Nine of Cups and now with the Sun card. So again, we have the sense of happiness, satisfaction, fulfillment. This card is also about clarity. So it could be about something being clarified, being able to see things more clearly, because when the sun is up in the sky, you can see everything. And now I'm hearing, because I mentioned the storm at the beginning, I'm hearing, I can see clearly now the rain is gone in my head. You know, that it's going to be a sunshiny day. So I'm hearing that in my head. So for somebody, it's reinforcing this idea that you have come out on the other side of that stormy time. So there's that. And you've come out with it with a greater sense of awareness, because the sun is about conscious awareness, right? So with that, this is about, like I said, clarity. It's also about personal freedom. So it could be like, because now I'm seeing the idea of like somebody's shackles being removed. And so I'm thinking that's very metaphorical, very, very figurative. So there may be a sense of limitations, restrictions, blocks that you may have been experiencing are being removed, right? And now as I'm saying that, I'm seeing another depiction. And this particular depiction of the Sun card has Archangel Uriel on it. So Uriel is what I call the psychologist angel. And so this is about removing psychological blocks. So there may have been a block to your happiness or your sense of being enthusiastic or passionate about life. And that may have been as a result of a psychological block. And so now that psychological block is being removed. And it's helping you to not only be really clear, but it's freeing you up so you can start being happy again. I'm feeling like this is a week where we may be returning to a sense of happiness. You know, so I'm seeing that. I'm asking what else do we need to say about this? Oh yes, for the person who may be embarking or re-embarking on a creative project or creative endeavor, the Sun card bodes well, because it's all about radiating your creative genius. This is about your brilliance, your radiance, that kind of thing. But I always see this as creative genius, right? So I'm seeing that. And this card also is about our personal best. So sometimes this card is about energy, and you know, if you go with the idea that we are all energetic beings and we radiate energy out, right? So this is about going out into your everyday world and radiating your personal best, right? But with the Sun card, I think the biggest takeaway here this week is about really working on or becoming more clear on what would make us happy. As I'm thinking on this, I'm reflecting on this, another aspect of the Sun card is all about achievement. And sometimes this is a money card. And so I'm not suggesting like people are going to be coming into money in the literal sense. But what's coming to me in the moment is like when people are in a place where they are wanting to create more abundance, they are wanting more money in their lives, it's usually not about the money. It's about what the money will afford you to do. And 9 times out of 10, when I'm working with my coaching clients and we're wanting to focus on or create more wealth or abundance in our lives, and I ask, what would the money allow you to do? 9 times out of 10, the number one answer is that having the money will afford us a greater sense of personal freedom. And that goes back to what the Sun card means for me, personal freedom. So it could be like, what would we be willing to do to create a sense of more personal freedom in our lives this week? And would we be willing to check in with ourselves, to be honest, to be clear? You know, the first thing about creating a vision for what you want in your life when we're talking about creating change is to be clear. You know, the clearer, the more clear, it's either clearer or more clear. But either way, the more clear or clearer that you are from the beginning point, from the starting point, the more clear that the work will be that you need to do, and then the end result will be. Right? So this is a week about how can we be more clear on what it is that we want to create. You know, how can we be more clear on what our blocks are and then do our work on removing the blocks, right? But I'm feeling it's like whatever we feel is blocking or impeding our sense of happiness, satisfaction, and fulfillment. And for everyone watching this video, it's going to be a different thing. You know, we all don't have share the one thing that's going to make us all happy. For all of us, it's relative. It's going to be a different thing. So I think this week I'm going to invite you to think about, what would make me happy? What would bring more happiness, satisfaction, fulfillment in my life? And would I be willing to do the work? Here's the interesting thing. Going back to the Ace of Wands for a minute. The Ace of Wands, Wands as a suit represents not only intention and action. So remember now, what I'm talking about is setting an intention and thinking about the action steps to bring the intention into fruition. But it's also about doing the work, because Wands represents work, business, and enterprise. So how enterprising are you going to be willing to be this week? Are you going to be willing to put in the work? And it may be as a result of, as I'm saying, doing the work. Are you going to be willing to do something differently? Because what you've done in the past may not be the thing that's going to work now. Because I'm being reminded, as you know, sometimes what works in the past doesn't necessarily work in the present moment. You know, what worked in the past to get you here may not be the same thing you need to do to get you where you need to be, or where you'd like to be. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this week's Oracle Outlook. And as I close, I'm Jameson Mitchell, and I'd like to thank you for sharing space with me for this week's reading. And I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day, and I'm hoping that you have a tarot-tastic week. Take care.